We're going to take a look at IC67. Basically, we're going to take a look at area of circles with the radius or diameter given, sometimes looking at it in terms of pi. And at the very, very end, the last three problems, we'll take a look at a parallelogram, trapezoid, and triangle. So here we go. We have a circle here, so we have to pull out the formula for the circle. Area equals pi r squared. And what that means is that we have to know what pi is. And if they don't say in terms of pi, we want you to use 3.14. It's going to times the radius. And so when you look at that circle, the radius is from the center to the outside, and that would be 7.7. So the 3.14 is going to be multiplying the 7.7, but don't forget the exponent. And that does not mean 7.7 times 2. That means 7.7 times 7.7. But what I would recommend is that you take a calculator and you type all of this in. You can use parentheses around the 7.7, or you can just use a multiplication symbol here. 3.14 times 7.7 to the second power. Again, it says round to the nearest tenth. So we look at the 10th spot and we look at the number behind it. This 7 means that we need to make that a 2. And then we go through here and find the best answer. And the best answer is 186.3. So why is it different? The generator that I'm using for this worksheet, they don't use 3.14 for pi. They actually use a lot more decimal spaces, that go way beyond 4, and that's throwing off their answer. So if you take a look at A, B, and D, they're so far off that you'd say there's no chance of those being the correct one. You choose the closest one to yours. Here we go on number 2. Pi is 3.14. The radius is 4.6. And don't forget to square the radius. Raise that to the second power. Type that all into your calculator. Round it. And find the closest answer, which in this case would be C. Here's number 3. 3.14 for pi. Now we have a little bit of an issue here. They want the radius, but they gave us the whole diameter. From here all the way over to here is 23.2, so we want half of that. So if you'll take your calculator out, take 23.2, the diameter that they gave you, divide it by 2, you can figure out the radius. So it's 11.6. Times that by 3.14, but remember, we need to square the radius, right? Type this all in the calculator, and we get this, and it's perfect for us to round. And then we check to see which one of these 4 answers is the closest. Number 4, it's the exact same thing. It's got a diameter on there, so let's go ahead and take care of pi. The radius, again, we only want half of the diameter, so we'll pull up the calculator and find half of 6.8 by dividing it by 2. So our radius is going to be 3.4, and raise that to the second power. Type that all into your calculator, round it if need be, and there it is for B. Now this one's a little bit different, but basically instead of giving you a diagram of the circle, they're just going to tell you the radius is 5 meters. So let's go through this. Pi is 3.14. The radius is given to us at 5. And don't forget the exponent, 78.5. Number 6, exact same thing. Pi is 3.14. The radius is 11. Times that by 11 to the second power. And round if need be. So 379.9 is really close to that 380.1. Number 7, the issue here is they give us a diameter and our formula requires a radius. So we'll deal with that. Let's go ahead and take care of pi. Then as far as the diameter being 12, break that into half for the radius. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. So where's that 6 come from? It's half your diameter. That's what the radius is. Don't forget to raise that to the second power. Times that all in the calculator. Round it to the nearest tenth. In this case, it should just be 113, but this is the closest one that we have here. So now, number 8, pi is 3.14. The radius is what we need, but they gave us the diameter, so half it, be 5. and raise that to the second power. So put that all in your calculator and we get 78.5. Number 9, this is new. This is in terms of pi. So you see that pi in the formula? When it says it wants it in terms of pi, that means there needs to be a pi in the answer. So we don't want to put in 3.14 for pi. We just want to let that sit on your paper. So we'll just write out pi underneath it. What's the next thing we need? We need the radius, and in this case the radius is 4. And that 4 will be raised to the second power. Well, what's 4 to the second power? That does not mean 4 times 2, it means 4 times 4, and that's where that 16 came from right here. And it's a little bit of etiquette, a little bit of formatting here. You always put the pi at the end of your answer. So, instead of writing pi 16, you'll make it 16 pi, and it's waiting there for you as B. Number 10, still need it in terms of pi, so pi just stays there as pi. We need to find the radius, and they gave us the whole diameter. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. We'll put 12 in for the radius, raise it to the second power. Do not think that that means 24. It's 12 times 12 is 144. And remember, we want to write it as 144 pi inches squared. Number 11, this time, thankfully, they gave us the radius, but it's still in terms of pi. So the pi is going to stay there. We take the radius of 9, and we raise that to the second power. So 9 times 9 is 81. And we write that as 81 pi. And it's waiting there for us as A. Number 12 is the last one. It's still in terms of pi, so the pi is just going to be waiting there. They give us the diameter, and we need the radius. So again, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Hopefully you can do that in your head. So your radius will be 2. And then raise that to the second power. 2 to the second power is 4. So 4 pi. So there's all the area that we need as far as rounding to the nearest tenth using 3.14 in terms of pi. Now the last three that we're going to do, 13, 14, and 15, is a review of last chapter. It's just finding the area of, in this case, a parallelogram. You'll see that this left side is parallel to the right side. That's one set of parallel lines. And the top is parallel to the bottom. So that's the second set of parallel sides that makes a parallelogram, and here's the formula. Area equals base times height. What's the base? 8.1. What's the height? 7. And so since the base and height are multiplying each other, you type in 8.1 times 7, and we get 56.7 meters squared. This is a triangle, so 1/2 base times height is the formula. 1/2 is going to be involved in the multiplication. If you want, you can write 1/2 as 0.5. It's the exact same thing. The base, in this case, is going to be 6. And the height has to be at 90 degrees, so it's going to be 2.6. So multiply these three numbers together in your calculator, and you'll get 7.8. Since we were dealing with kilometers, this answer will be kilometers squared. Last one, this is a trapezoid. What makes a trapezoid? It only has one set of parallel sides. The top is parallel to the bottom. The sides, the left and right, would actually intersect somewhere up here. So it's not a parallelogram. We have to use the trapezoid formula. This one, 1/2 times the base of the two bases added together, and then times by the height. So how's this work? Well, again, 1/2, you can have that in your calculator, or you can make it 0.5. You'll need to add the bases together to have the second number to multiply, or if you've got a calculator with parentheses like what I'm providing for you, you can go ahead and put out the first base. It's the parallel sides. Choose one of those. I'm choosing the bottom one, 8. The second base will be the other parallel side, and that will be 2. And remember, these two are being added together there, and that's very, very important. 8 plus 2, the two bases are added together, and then it's going to be times all of that by the height. And in this case, it's always the distance at a right angle that connects the parallel sides. So 5.5 will be put right there. Put all of this into your calculator. Or if you don't have a calculator with parentheses, remember you can say 0.5 plus whatever these two, 0.5 times whatever these two are added up to be, which would be 10, and then times it by 5.5. Make sure you get 27.5, and you'll know how you type that in correctly. And there's our answer right there at C.